For one final time, it's ready to go time. In the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour, the Americas region makes its way to maybe one of the most committed tracks available in the iRacing service. It's the old version of the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Delighted to have your company here on RaceSpotTV, where my name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside to close things out by the one and only Derek Watson. And don't forget, you can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading to timing.racespot.tv. What a season it's been as well for us here on RaceSpotTV, following across 4 different regions of the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour. And Derek, it's not that we're trying to split the globe apart and to restrict drivers from competing. If you're crazy enough, there's 300 and something races a week for you to do. What it does mean, though, is we can have 4 distinct series focusing on some of the great tracks available across of iRacing.
That's the great part, right, is that the tracks are all fitting to the different regions as much as possible, and it's a great schedule we should look at here. But you're right, 300 races. I don't have the time for all 300, but I'm happy we get to have the time to hang out and watch these races for the Americas region. They
added an additional time slot as well, such was the demand on each day, Wednesday and Thursday, fixed slots so that everyone knows when they can go racing across of an iRacing official season, and it's open to anyone with a non-rookie license. That's the really fun part as well. All you need to do is get out of the MX-5s and up in towards the top-level cars. You could stay here with the FIA Formula 4 if you wanted, and you said schedule is being quite fun, and I look at this and I go, wow, all the different things that you could find yourself between tight, twisty tracks like Laguna Seca, like a trip over to Long Beach in the streets there, but then high-speed thrillers, Watkins Glen, Road America into Lagos, and capped off here at Mosport.
Yeah, what a great place to cap it off here, and a historic track with lots of story and to it. So I'm excited to get this race started here in this moment. We're almost done with qualifying, but that's a great schedule overall. Like a very eclectic would be a word I'd use for it.
Yes, exactly, right. Eclectic. You have Willow Springs and then Watkins Glen. It doesn't get too different from that. And while we look from up above here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, you don't get the true sense of exactly how undulating this track really is, but that is the defining characteristic around the 10 corners, just under 4 kilometers, just under 2.5 miles. And it's a bit of a roller coaster, and one that, at least on iRacing, Derek, still has its old school flair with not much runoff to speak of.
No, not much runoff at all, but look how different the 2 sides of the track are if you look at this map here. The right side, turns 1 basically through 4, lots of up and hit, turns and twists. You get, of course, the bottom half of the track is the Andretti straightaway. Very, very different parts of this track.
Yes, no, exactly right, and it's an open setup, so the drivers have to contend with the fact that you need a little bit of top-end speed when you come down that long run on the Mario Andretti straightaway, but at the same time through some of these twisty sections, how can you keep your car rolling all the way then to power yourself down into it, as well as we look at the track from up above. A final corner complex, which, yes, and I know NASCAR truck machines, has been known, Derek, to produce its fair share of drama.
A lot of drama, a lot of running in the grass and beating and banging, and I don't think we'll see that tonight with these F4 cars because I don't think they can handle it. But yeah, the NASCAR trucks have produced a lot of dramatic finishes here when they were racing here up through 2019.
That's a great shot as well, as you see just that elevation that we keep talking about. That, I believe, is the run out of the opening corner and down through turn 2 as well, as you sweep your way back up. You see pit exit, not necessarily something we're going to be too focused on here today. Let's not forget, we've just had the British Formula 4 Esports Championship come to a close in what has been a year, Derek, where so much official competition has come in this machine. It's only 160 horsepower. It's going to take the most of the drivers' racecraft to figure out what they need to do. That's what took Luke McEwen to the championship earlier today.
It's really been amazing all the support this car has received on the service this year, whether it be the British F4 Championships, whether it be the F4 regionals across the regions. Of course, we do the PRL coverage here on RaceSpot. We race them every Thursday night. It's amazing to see how the community has adopted this car and really made it their own.
And of course, we recently had that Campeonato Sudamericano Esports as well. So much fun was had in person at the Max Arena just before the Brazilian Grand Prix. But we're ready to go here for the final time on RaceSpotTV in the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour. Let's run you down through how they'll start, where Nicholas Short grabs the pole position with a 1:17.844 and almost 3/10 quicker than Sam Dan Butler Woodhouse alongside Andrew Smith, and Nicholas Houghton will be on that second row with Crispin Hudson, and then Bruno Araya sharing row number 3. Back in 7th spot and halfway through the starting lineup, it's Michael Carpenter. Kevin McPherson will be alongside him with Eric Cox and then Paul Jourdain making up the rest of the top 10, and a big jump as well as you find your way on the edge of the first 5 rows. It'll be Felipe Murad and then Richard Kelly on the starting spots behind them, and just Brandon Frost and Nicolo Del Monte rounding out the 14 cars. There's 2 splits of competition on deck today. That's the great thing about iRacing. You always find yourself with a race to go and focus your way on. The drivers, though, are on the grid. They're ready to go, and with the engines building up, it's one final blast here in the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour. A great jump from the front as Nicholas Short will lead us in towards the opening corner. But remember, 160 horsepower. They got plenty of time to build up the speed and build up the momentum. It's single file for the time being, but 2 and 3 wide. It's starting to build. It's starting to form.
Here we're now down through Clayton Corner. This will be turn 2 on the track. We get it mostly single. Oh man, look at that, 2 cars wide out to the grass there. Very different spots of the grass, but already you see the cars going wide out of Clayton Corner. Now up through Quebec Corner, and we'll head down into turns 4 and 5 before we find Moss Corner.
So it was Eric Cox and Felipe Murad that ran off the track. It's going to be side by side between Kevin McPherson and Michael Carpenter as you come up through the double right-hander. You can see them all just trying to peel their way onto the power and down the Mario Andretti straightaway now. And when I say straightaway, it's not very straight. It jinks one way than the other, and you're also positioning yourself for those final couple of corners. Crucially, Nicholas Short has got about 0.4 of a second, so he's going to be relatively comfortable as we stamp onto the brakes at the end of this long run. And when I say stamp onto the brakes, it's probably a dab down a couple of gears and then flick it to the right. This is where, as well, if you're going to make moves at the end, you'll spend the previous 20 minutes all figuring it out. But at the end of the opening lap, 2 cars off the road, yes, in the opening couple of corners, but all 14 that started this race still pointed in the right direction.
That's always a positive sign, right, to see everyone still on the track after the first lap here. We'll start lap number 2 here with about 18.5 minutes left in this race. And you'll see these cars will get single filed out. Arjuna, these cars are basically, in a weird analogy, like go-karts. It's all about momentum. You used that term earlier, stab the brakes. You don't want to stab the brakes in these cars, because if you break that momentum, it's really, really hard to get it back.
It's one of the things as well where braking in these machines is different than in a GT car, because with these cars, you might not think they have downforce, but they do, and you want to brake using that downforce initially to slow you down a little bit more. On board with the number 9 machine, Bruno Araya, who's trying to put the pressure onto Nicholas Houghton in the number 11 machine as we cycle out once again out of what is a confusingly numbered complex. Somehow it's turn 5A, 5B, and 5C, but now we've come through 6 and 7, and we're about to head into turn 8. Corner numbers take on no meaning, but Bruno Araya has got the run, has got to the inside, and is looking for 4th position.
What a beautiful pass opportunity here, and an attempt they're going to try to do the back and forth here. Now, oh man, he was going to get around him. I thought the green car would stick up with him, but he got on the brakes and let him go.
Oh, and now there's contact. It's that final corner as one car tries to go for a 737 style lift. It's McPherson, Carpenter, and Frost that scramble off the track, and everyone else runs their way on through. It means now 4 breakaway at the front. Short, Butler, Woodhouse, Smith, and Araya. But I think now it's time for us to begin the carousel of replays, and it means that we have to start by going back to the opening lap of the race.
There's Kevin McPherson on the inside here, nothing involved, but there's the 2 cars on the outside. Both just really got wide in the corner. I'm not sure if they were just scared of who was inside them or how close it was, but they both gathered it and kept moving here.
And so then this is slightly later on as they cycle in through that final corner. This is just that contact side to side, and bish bash bosh, away you go. As we rejoin the live pictures, brief internet issue there for Nicholas Short, but no dramas. He's still there leading, but now by 1.2 seconds. He's almost broken the draft to those behind.
Yeah, that's something right on the verge of not breaking the draft. So now it'll be up to the cars behind him, Smith and the others, to get in line and try to catch him here before he gets away from them. You'll see a beautiful onboard shot here, now to the left-hander.
And you'll see as well just running a little bit wide with Sam Butler Woodhouse, and so already just closing that margin is as they head back towards the line with that toe being broken in front as well. What it counterintuitively means is, as someone comes out of pit lane and hoping that doesn't cause too much dramas for these drivers in through turn 2, no dirty air to worry about, but dirty air is not a concern when you're side by side with some lap machines.
Oh, that's a scary moment right there through that corner, down through Clayton. He'll be side by side now up through Quebec, and he's going to get around him here on the outside. I think so. Almost clear, and has him. And now he'll get back in line here and try to use that lap car for a little bit of aero push to get him back up to the car in front of him.
Can Bruno Araya sling to the inside through Moss? No, his door is going to be slammed shut as they rise over the crest, and almost 5 minutes complete is off and into the wall. That was Sam Butler Woodhouse. Oh, he's got a beer livery on. I don't think Homer Simpson would have been too proud about that one. It's a bit of a Simpsons hit and run.
No, but that's a kind of moment right there, Arjun, to hit a wall, and that'll probably put an end to his race, or at least hamper it in a big way.
And it means now podium positions given to Bruno Araya, but Brandon Frost and Felipe Mrad. Now remember, Felipe Mrad ran off the track on the opening lap. He's already back into, well, potential podium hunt as he slides his way on past Brandon Frost and into 4th position, but now 9 seconds off the back of 3rd. He's got some work to do and needs to hope for a little bit of bad luck going the other's way. Racing in the Tribute Williams Racing livery, and goodness, he's into the wall as well.
Wow, that was a scary moment right there to see him come across the track like that. Luck there was enough of a gap behind him not to get hit, but to see that car bounce from one wall to the other was a scary moment.
We've got a few more replays to go and work our way through, I do believe, because there's been more retirements over the course of the day. You can see on that left side of the screen that only 8 are left on the leading lap, and, well, only 2 are left within 15 seconds technically of your leader right now. I want to go take one more look at, well, this little moment right here where Crispin Hudson, that's not the way that a Formula 4 is meant to go. It's meant to stay on the ground, not go in the air.
Yeah, if I was a driver in that car, I would be petrified if my Formula 4 got off the ground like that. That's going to be a hard landing.
It's right on board, because this is one of those things which you never really want to experience.
Now, it looks like McPherson has tried to cut inside the corner there, and just never was going to make that car stick, and just got out of the corner and into that red car and just caused some calamity.
And there's been some more drivers with issues. This is a bit of a technical one, it would appear, as Nicola Del Monte blinks out of existence and reappears back into a wall as hard into the wall goes. I believe that was Paul Jourdan, and, well, Richard Kelly departs from the scene, so I'm going to put 2 and 2 together. They come together at the end of the long Mario Andretti straightaway, and that's a big old bit of contact.
Looked like Jourdan just kind of thought he was clear, I think, and tried to pull over and just pulled right over top of the car. Watch it again here. Watch the blue car. I think he's going to try to just clear himself. Yep.
And then
the unfortunate part for Richard Kelly is really just an innocent victim there. Just thought he was going to be fine. All of a sudden, he's got some wheel damage, and I believe he's going to have to tow it back to pit road.
Not sure if he had to tow it back. He did have to bring it back, that is for sure. And the unfortunate one, as I hit a bit more contact just in front of these drivers, that is the aforementioned Richard Kelly off the road at Moss Corner. Yes, they get one fast repair, I do believe, but I guess after that you're having to actually get the damage repaired itself. This is what happened to Sam Butler Woodhouse, who just got a little bit of a tank slapper going on at what is the most uncomfortable part of the track to be dealing with that. And, well, it's that elevation change we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, this is a very difficult track right here because with the elevation change, the throttle control is actually a big story here for any car at the track. Oh, I thought he was going to save it and just slapped it around there like you said. But throttle control is such an important piece here because in any car, whether it be the Formula 4s, the NASCAR trucks, anything you bring here, with the way these corners turn and elevate, if you get on the throttle too soon, you'll just loop a car around here pretty easily.
And of course, this is a Grade 2 facility, so you're not necessarily designed for Formula 1 level machinery, but you do often see, of course, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship has come here with its prototypes and GTD machines, and I would be very curious to see how many more high-level series would come and put some racing around this one fantastic facility. Now, in the real world, it has undergone some modernization. There have been some big crashes. There's no other way to put it, coming out of Turn 2 and Turn 2A, Clayton's Corner in the past, and so tarmac's been added there, some extra a barrier protection. We saw a Juncos DPI go off there a handful of years ago in a big fashion that may have even written off the chassis, but yeah, hopefully nothing that would necessarily reduce the charm of this track. And you can see from these shots as well, pretty high curbs as well that you don't necessarily want to be using.
No, especially not in an F4 car. But speaking of real-life racing, next year the Formula 4 Regional Series is bringing these cars to this track in real life. So I suspect this simulator will be used a lot to get drivers ready for what they'll experience here at, come next year when that series does come to Mosport.
So it sounds like they're going to need the updated version, though, because I don't believe it's just cosmetic when it comes to some of those changes, when it's
right.
Talking safety as well. I think might even be talking resurfacing of the track, which
I believe turns 4 and 5 have a big runoff, and 2 I believe as well have a big runoff difference from what we have in iRacing. There's a lot of runoff that's been added in years. Yes. Since this track was scanned.
I'm just trying to remember if it got repaved or not. I know it did back in the early 2000s.
I think 2001 was the repave.
Yeah, so hopefully not since then, because you don't need to repave tracks too often, unless you want to ruin the racing, but that's neither here nor there. Not really much going out on track right now, except for the fact that Kevin McPherson and Sam Butler-Woodhouse have managed to find one another amidst a sea of nothingness. They're fighting to stay as the not last car on the lead lap.
And of course, I mentioned the PRL coverage with F4s. You can watch Kevin and others every Thursday night, so I'm familiar with Kevin and how he'll make some moves. Man, that looks familiar to what we saw a little bit ago in that Yeast Motorsports car. Kevin is trying to get a corner in there and not able to make it stick here at this track.
You could just see around the outside, just getting onto the power slightly earlier. They have a car directly in front of them, but that is some lap traffic that they're dealing with. Pulls to the outside does Kevin McPherson as they swoop their way up towards the end of the Mario Andretti straight and now through the S's. Is he going to be hung out to dry on the outside, or will Butler-Woodhouse give him the room? Gives plenty of room, I must say, and as McPherson clambers over the inside curb of the penultimate corner, Butler-Woodhouse back on through and instantly tries to break the toe as they run back towards the line. They've got 9 laps complete. They've probably got about another 7 or so to go. Lap times here just under the 1:20 bracket, and I would want to be the car behind coming on to the final lap of the race.
Yep, I would definitely want to be the car behind to try to make that move and use that slipstream or draft, depending which way you want to use that term, and make it happen here. So I'd rather be Kevin McPherson on the last lap, assuming that I can keep a close enough gap to make it happen. Now, Arjuna, you talked about changes at the track. What a lot of people don't know is up until I think 2013, Mosport had an oval. It had a half-mile oval that originally was a dirt track that got paved, but in 2013 it was knocked down in order to make way for a driver academy.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cool things actually at this facility, and there's a reason why it's got the partnership and the support from the Canadian Tire company as well. Back to the outside, though, will go the number 3 of Kevin McPherson. And again, the numbers determined by iRating. McPherson you'd expect to see a little bit further up through the grid, but such has been the rough and tumble nature that both these drivers are a little bit further down than where they're expecting. But finally, McPherson slides on through, and as much as Butler-Woodhouse still had a look up the inside of the final corner, wasn't close enough. And finally, 7th has been swapped around, but as we were saying, you want to be in the draft potentially, and so Butler-Woodhouse now the one that will see how he can take the slipstream and work from here.
Now the question will be, how does he handle that slipstream? It will affect the car a little bit and how it handles, where your braking points are, how the car wants to behave behind somebody. We call that dirty air. And so you can see, got a little loose. You can see it and hear it in that moment in that corner here. And now we'll see if he can hold on to the car or if he needs to maybe get out of the draft and save this car a little bit.
They are definitely running down on laps, though. These drivers are heading up to turn 5, as that was a wide line from McPherson, but he's able to arrest the momentum of the car and turn it back to the right through the second part of the corner. The leader is already coming down in towards turn number 4 right now, such is the margin of their lead. 50 seconds, of course, these two respective drivers on the track, and so if they do continue to fight, they will have to hope that they don't end up being some lap traffic, although that would be a miracle for them to lose that much more time with only 6 minutes left in what is very much a sprint race. And Nicholas Short, by the way, now almost 9 seconds clear, Derek, of his competition behind.
Yeah, what a great run by Nicholas Short. It's a mix of great lap times. I don't want to discount that, but it's also a mix of just being able to avoid the calamity and really pull away from the field. And man, he is really schooling the field here. It's an impressive run.
Number 1 machine maybe expected to be at the front, but had to keep it tidy on the start, especially given the margin in qualifying wasn't necessarily as large as some of the other races that we have seen over the course of this season on RaceSpotTV for our FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour coverage. And again, just 160 horsepower. The draft is important, and that's why you check back in with Sam Butler-Woodhouse still trying to chase Kevin McPherson down as they run back out of Moss Corner. You can see down the Mario Andretti straightaway through the gears, building the speed once again. The gap's closing between the two, but not maybe quick enough for the number 7 car to be alongside into the crucial corner coming up at the end of the straight.
No, not this time. He's got 5 minutes left. He's got plenty of time here still to try to make this run happen. He's staying in the stream. You notice he's staying a little bit to the right, so he's getting that draft, but also not all the dirty air, so he can kind of control the car. But look at this difference in line. Man, you're right. McPherson's running these corners really wide. It's kind of surprising to see.
And I did say that you can try and pass in the final corner. It's not necessarily a wise idea. McPherson is just a little bit opening the door potentially to Butler-Woodhouse, who likes to be a bit more aggressive if things play out in that direction. But they are actually closing on Felipe Mrad, who's got a bit of damage to the front of his car. And so that is now a 5-second margin that they are starting to close on. And so it is going to be a worry. McPherson a bit wide, almost into the grass, but there's a reason he's pushing. His car is totally fine. And small amounts of damage to your wing at a track like this, Derek, it's going to feel like agony.
Oh, it's going to feel like agony for sure, because that wing will affect a lot of how that car handles and possibly the speed on it. But sometimes you don't want to go down pit road and take that pit delta of getting the fast repair. You believe that maybe you won't lose as much time as you would going down pit road. It's one of those mental games you play with yourself as a driver about the lesser of two evils.
So there is, by the way, the number 8 machine coming back towards the line with, 3:30-ish to go probably by the time Rad sees the stripe. And so just needs to keep it tidy, especially given that McPherson's had an issue. Is straight back down towards pit lane as Butler-Woodhouse picks up the pieces.
Wow, what an unfortunate run for ending to that for McPherson. He may not be done, but wow, lost out here. Let's watch the replay and see what's going to happen. They're going to come down through the corner.
Oh no, traffic slows in front of him.
Oh, yeah. Just traffic slowed. He just rear-ended, had nowhere to go. And a momentum-based car, it's hard to get wound up in time. Watch it again here.
And you just see that for McPherson, who's really pushing as well, he caught in two minds from that car in front, wasn't sure which way to go. Not much he could have really done, and unfortunate that his race comes to an end in such unfortunate circumstance. Also unfortunate that the sole battle that we have comes to an end. We check back in with your race leader, who's now 10 seconds clear of those behind, and from what my quick calculations have figured on out, should be on to the third to final lap of the race.
Yep, so almost done here with this 20-minute race. These are fast races here in these regional races, and it's a way to encourage the drivers to be active and get out here and run it. But with an open setup, you have to be knowledgeable what you're doing to compete here.
Yeah, that's just same sort of format that we see in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Of course, Gordy Much just lost out on points to Luke McEwen at the end of the day, but those are short races with 2 of them per event, and so you're incentivized to qualify well, finish well, and then keep that positioning forward therefore for the second race and maximize your points. Staying out of trouble is also easier said than done at times, and so in this machine we saw on opening laps side by side, pretty easy to spot what you're trying to do. And you mentioned that, of course, some of the drivers who will be coming here in the real world next year might be trying to jump onto the sim to figure things out. I recently started to jump back into virtual reality, and I gotta say, Derek, if you're trying to learn tracks, I can't imagine there really is a better way to do so.
No, that's definitely one way to do it, is to get out there on track and do it. With VR, of course, you can look around and change your camera perspective and see the corners in a different way. Of course, there's always that, iRacing debate about triples or VR or singles, and everyone has an opinion about which is better. Yeah, what a great way to learn the track and to learn spatial awareness is to be in VR and get to look around as you're, taking the corners. It's a way. I prefer triples. I'm a triples guy. I don't like VR, but I respect those who do it.
I think the thing is with VR, right, if you're trying to learn the track, you want to really understand where everything is. And so if you're trying to spot references, one thing Brian Till was mentioning to me was that you want to sometimes look out the park. You're not just looking within the confines of the track, but maybe there's a tree beyond the fence line that you'll be using or something. So those are the kind of things that's undulation, maybe a bit easier to try and pick your way through if you are in VR rather than on the triples. But I'd be curious. So that's Felipe Mrad going around, and as Nicola Del Monte goes rough and tumble over, ends up on the roll hoop. That's Felipe's race done as well. He's down into 7th and out of pit lane with some damage repaired, albeit I'm sure with the ego slightly dented. But we're on to the final lap of this race and the final lap of the season on RaceSpotTV.
Well, what a great job for Nicholas Short. This will be his 5th start in this series and his first, I don't want to jinx it, but his first win if he gets it back around here. So what a great job. You'll be 1 for 5 in the season. This will be a great momentum builder to want to try it again next season.
Hopefully, by the way, no internet issues on this final lap, because never say never. We've seen crazier things, that's for sure. We do have a bit of a battle brewing, by the way. Felipe Mrad back out on track, as I mentioned, with the damage repaired, albeit now with a battle brewing as they come up towards turn 5. A bit sideways goes the number 8, but slides it back into control. But now surely will have lost a bit of a momentum. We'll keep an eye on them as they fight for 7th and 8th positions. But as Derek mentioned, what a way to cap off what's been a fantastic 2023, not just 2023 Season 4, but 2023 for iRacing, for Formula 4, and for the FIA in collaboration. It's Nicholas Short that wins here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in the final round of the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour, and by almost 12 full seconds as they tangle behind for 8th and 9th positions. It's Crispin Hudson, who was doing his 7:37 impression slightly earlier today, who comes across the line in 7th spot.
What a great job by Nicholas Short to claim that first victory for the series. I'm sure we'll see him do some celebrations. Watching the rest of the cars come across the line here at this iconic racetrack.
And so we shouldn't be surprised to see cars tangle, I think, at that point on the track. But for Felipe Mrad and for, unfortunately, the number 11 car, they dropped behind not just Crispin Hudson, but in Nicholas Houghton's case, behind Michael Carpenter as well. And so late race drama all the way to the end of the season. Just waiting now for Sam Butler Woodhouse to come to the line, and then he can crack open a duff and celebrate 2023 officially done and dusted. There we go, all drivers across the line. Barney's arm can get a bit of a reprieve, and we can take a look at our race results for the final time. Nicholas Short 12.3 seconds clear at the end from Andrew Smith, while Bruno Arai is able to grab the final spot on the podium, just 15 seconds off the back of Smith at the end. Eric Cox tried to close in the final stages of the race, but he settles for 4th in front of Brandon Frost, while Sam Butler Woodhouse, the final car left on the leading lap, is scored in front of Crispin Hudson, Felipe Moran, Michael Carpenter, and Nicholas Houghton. Your rest of your top 10. 11th went the way of Richard Kelly, while Nicolo Del Monte ended up on the roll hoop in the closing stages. Kevin McPherson and then Paul Jourdain making up the rest of the 14 that took to the green flag here north of the border to close things out. And of course, there's no looking forward now to the next race of the season. There's only looking forward to next season. And Derek, iRacing's teased some new things coming. Rain getting closer and closer as well. But he mentioned it. I think plenty of drivers are going to be hoping that there's more to hear about the Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour heading forward into a new calendar year.
Yeah, lots of stuff's been teased, right? New cars, new tracks. Rain is imminent. That's the new word. Not soon anymore, but imminent. Of course, mama's the word kind of this week from iRacing, but I think, I don't know anything, but I think maybe the next few days, the levees will start to break open, I think.
The release notes for sure will start to be announced. That, I think, is a guarantee. We'll just remind you that there's still some racing to come in the Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour here on iRacing if you want. All 4 regions will be back in action tomorrow, and if you still want to jump in tonight, in, well, about an hour and a half's time, the Americas region still has one final dalliance on Wednesdays to run their way through. All you need is a non-rookie license, and you can head on to iRacing.com and grab yourself a membership where you can get yourself started on your road to the checkered flag. And you mentioned it at the start, Derek, it's been an eclectic calendar for this Americas region. The region's not intended to divvy up the drivers, instead to provide a focus for the 12 weeks of competition in terms of scheduling.
It really does, and it lets us use a lot of tracks that maybe don't get used that commonly because we get to use more tracks. So there's a lot of tracks here that I'm happy to see get used. Summit Point's one of them that I think fits these cars really well. But finishing at Mosport felt like a great finish to this season.
It was a lot of fun for us as well to jump across of all the different regions as we worked our way through the course of the season, to see different drivers, different tracks, but to see what the entire community was doing as well. And that's your reminder to jump onto our RaceSpot Discord, racespot.wtf/Discord, to stay connected as to what we're going to be covering next year. And indeed, in just a couple of weeks' time, the new season kicks off for RaceSpot Primetime, which will make its return. Can't wait to talk more about that. But for now, for the entire team behind the scenes and every single commentator that's been here along the way, the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour is in the books. Derek Watson alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, to close things off as we traveled our way to maybe one of the most treacherous tracks of them all available on iRacing. The Canadian Tire Motorsports Park signs us off, but it's with lots of excitement that we rumble on forward. The FIA Formula 4 and iRacing continue to work forward, and you can look forward to plenty more great action moving forward across of the iRacing service. For now, it's so long and goodbye. We can't wait to see you in 2024.